The Oklahoma City Thunder are bona fide championship contenders this year. You heard me. No, I'm not high. No, I'm not drunk. I don't think I'm stupid, and I'm only slightly mentally unstable, so please hear me when I say this. The Thunder are legit championship contenders this year, and will be for the next decade. And that's because 3 is more than 2, unless that 2 is really close to the hoop. There are 2 ways to form a dynasty in the modern NBA. 1, have 2 of the top 10 players in the league in their primes. Magic and Kareem, MJ and Pippen, Shaq and Kobe. 2, and the one I'm going to focus on the most in this video, capitalizing on market inefficiencies. What's with the big words? Why are you trying to sound smart? What's that even mean? Shut up and let a brother cook for a second, okay? So the reason I'm so high on the Thunder this year, other than being an OKC diehard, is that they remind me a lot of the NBA's most recent dynasty, the Golden State Warriors. Why is that, you might ask? That's because the Warriors didn't get 4 championships in the last however many seasons by having 2 of the 10 best players in the league. Yeah, Steph has been a top 5 player for like the last 10 years, but Klay and Draymond have never even sniffed the top 10. No, the Warriors didn't win all 4 championships because of their Big Three's overwhelming talent. They won because their Big Three's talent capitalized on the meta of the NBA, for lack of a better term, that no one else was able to foresee except for the Warriors. That meta is pace and space. As I'm sure everyone watching this video knows, the Warriors are not the first, but are perhaps the most notable pioneers of the NBA's modern era of play, and were able to become that because the rest of the NBA didn't value that play style as much as they should have. Jump shot heavy teams were seen as soft and unable to win championships. This thinking is what allowed a smaller, relatively unathletic, all-time shooter in Steph to slip to 7 in his draft, or an elite shooter like Klay to slip to 11. Small ball teams weren't seen as versatile, they were seen as vulnerable. This is what allowed a player like Draymond Green to slip into the second round. You throw that all together with a coach that has the experience and inventiveness to use those pieces the way no one else has, and you get a modern dynasty. The Thunder, I believe, have capitalized on a type of league-wide thinking similar to the type the Warriors capitalized on so many years ago. Ironically, I think this playstyle the Thunder have pounced on will be largely effective because of the style of play the Warriors popularized. And that playstyle, as alluded to in the intro, is role-less basketball. A lot of the more knowledgeable basketball fans may be familiar with role-less basketball's more well-known cousin, positionless basketball, which essentially just means that the line between each position in the NBA and their roles are blurred. Small forwards, shooting guards, and power forwards all significantly overlap in skill set and even athletic profile nowadays. Centers can handle the traditional point guard duties, power forwards can handle the traditional shooting guard duties. Each position needs to be able to guard at least 3 other positions or they're a defensive liability, etc. Even with positionless basketball, however, there are still roles. There is still some inherent structure. Offensively, each possession will typically have some combination of primary ball handlers, floor spacers, and dump-off guys. Floor spacers can be point guards through centers, primary ball handlers can be point guards through centers, and even though the dump-off guy role is typically filled by a big man, there are plenty of forwards and even guards that fill this role as well. Defensively, you have your point of attack defenders, help defenders, and rim protectors. Offensively and defensively, in this day and age, any position is able to fill one or more of these roles. However, most players can only fill one role effectively. De'Aaron Fox, in my opinion, is a top 15 player. He's an elite playmaker, but if you're asking him to just space the floor, then he's not being properly utilized. Anthony Davis is the best dump-off guy in the league, aside from, I guess, Victor Wembanyama now, but he's at least the second best dump-off guy in the league. But what these last few years have shown us is that he's only a mid-floor spacer and primary ball handler. Stephen Curry, the person this video is largely inspired by, is an elite playmaker and the best floor spacer of all time. But if you were asking him to be the dump-off man, then you've lost the plot. Defensively, Rudy Gobert is one of the best rim protectors ever, but his value is being called into question because defensively that is the only role he can fill. The reason I believe the Thunder are special is because they have 4 guys, potentially 6, that I feel can fill almost all of these roles and fill them passably to admirably. Let's go through each of the main players. Number 1, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Shai is the main reason anyone is hopping on the bandwagon for the Thunder this season, and it makes sense why. This man was electric sliding his way through defenses on his way to 30 points per game last season. I said it once and I'll say it again. Smoothest NBA player of all time, and it isn't close. My mans cannot be a law-abiding citizen, but that crosses the defender into the Michael Jackson lean. Annie, are you okay? One of, if not the best driver/slasher in the league, a good playmaker and shooter on top of that, and even though he's a bit flat-footed on defense, his size and athleticism at the very least makes him versatile. Secondly, Jalen Williams. Not much to say here. J. Will is an elite and versatile perimeter defender, can guard 1 through 4 and some 5s, and offensively was a decent playmaker, shooter, and shot creator in just his rookie season. This is only year 2 for him, and he's not only shown flashes of what he will be, he's shown he already is a good starter in the NBA. I don't know if his stats will see a huge jump mainly because of opportunities, but I expect to see a lot of improvement in his play this year and an increase in efficiency. Number 3, Josh Giddey. I'll admit, when we drafted this brother, I was not feeling him one bit. Part of it is I'm a tad racist. Part of it is the brother's scouting report was literally, he's tall and a good passer. I just did not understand the pick. I'm happy to say now though that I have even more evidence that I'd be a horrible NBA scout, because I believe Josh Giddey will be a cornerstone of the Thunder for years to come. Let's set aside the fact that Josh Giddey helps to make up the sexiest backcourt in the NBA and is not close. Josh is an elite playmaker and driver of the basketball, a solid defender, and even though I don't know how much better he'll get, he shows some decent shot making potential. Next up are 2 wild cards, Ousmane Dieng and Aleksej Pokusevski. These 2 guys I'm not putting a lot of stock in, but they both show some potential. Ousmane has already given us evidence that he'll be a valuable rotational player. I think realistically, one of these players will be able to develop into a high-level starter for our team. And finally, the one that will make or break this team, Chet Holmgren. Chet is the Steph Curry of this team. He's the linchpin. If the Thunder are who I believe they are, it will be because Chet put some meat on his bones and fulfilled his sky-high potential. Even if Chet is just 80% of what I think he is, he will be the key to everything the Thunder do. Offensively, between J. Will and Giddey and Shea, we are built on the idea that all our guys can screen, shoot, and most importantly, drive to the hoop. They can all fill all the roles I discussed earlier. Even Lou Dort, who I didn't mention earlier, is passable in all of these roles. The reason this last part is most important is because in this era of pace and space, it is easier than ever to drive to the hoop because of 1, the spacing, and 2, small ball lineups having less size to protect the rim. The way this playstyle will be maximized is by having a center who can not only shoot, which even if Chet is a bust, the very least he'll be able to do is space the floor. It's also maximized by having a center who can do the same things our other playmakers can do: drive, finish, and pass. Offensively, because Chet is the Megazord Swiss Army knife that he is, there's literally nowhere the defense can hide a poor or even just a small defender. Our 4 best players can all pass, shoot, drive, and create their own shots to some degree, and they are 6'6", 6'8", 6'5", and 7'1". Who is your team's point guard going to defend? Our backcourt is taller than some teams' front courts.
And again, like what's crazy about that sequence is that's back-to-back threes for the Thunder, but all 4 of them were from different players off of different action. And what's interesting about that is it wasn't just one guy got hot. This is just the level of skill that this team has, and they're capable, when they run action well and they can get the defense into rotation, they're capable of generating high-quality shots for guys that are going to make it.
Defensively, Chet comes into the league as one of the best rim protectors on top of being moderately switchable. If we add that to J. Will, who was an elite defender in again just his rookie season, SGA and Giddey, who are both decent, and on top of that, the Dortcher Chamber, you have a top 10 defense who can all, because of their height, girth in Dort's case, and mobility, guard 3 to 4 positions. You include a coach that is capable of maximizing the talent, which I believe Mark Dagnall is, and a good supporting cast. I think the Thunder are poised to have a monster year this season. I don't know if they'll win it, but I think with their depth and youth, the first seed in the West is not off the table. And if each player develops how I believe they will, then this year will be a premonition of the many years to come.